Hey everyone, today I'm going to be ranking every single Master Builder series from LEGO Star Wars. Now technically there are only two sets that moniker this title, but I'm going to break this rule. There's a few UCS sets that fit this category, they were just before the new name. So with those four included, there's a total of 6 Master Builder series sets, which honestly felt off. I felt like there's been a lot more. Maybe that's just I also wish there was a lot more because I actually do really enjoy this style of set. I love how big they are and how they feel like just a huge playset. It's one of my favorite styles of sets. With that said though, let's go ahead and get into this actual ranking. We will be starting at the bottom with number 6, which I have the 75222 Betrayal at Cloud City. I do want to mention that all these sets are actually really strong. I just happen to feel this is the weakest one. And I think it's pretty easy to see why this set just feels very disconnected from itself, as well as being just a bit too cluttered. The design choice of having the big circular platform, it fits the shape of the city, gives it a good cohesive feel, and is a bit more interesting than something like the last Betrayal at Cloud City set. However, I can't help but feel they didn't make all the best choices for space utilization. Too many areas just feel crowded or disconnected. For example, the carbon freezing chamber, this little area, just feels like it's not very connected to the rest of the build. I get these are important parts that they had to fit in there, but there were definitely ways around this. The launch pad for Boba Fett Slave 1 was an okay choice, and the only side of this build I think that's actually very well done is this one quarter that has the dining room and the hallways that lead out to Boba's ship. It's a lot more cohesive in that way, and then it leads right into the carbon freezing chamber. I think that's a very good setup. This last quarter of the build though that has the torture chamber just doesn't feel like the best use of space. I feel like that could have been combined with the carbon freezing area, and then you put Darth Vader and Luke's duel on this other side here and give that a little more room to breathe. Because that scene definitely deserves a whole quadrant to itself. But instead, you're kind of left with a bit of a messier build here. It was never going to be perfect, this set's definitely focused on play, and I get that, that's okay. But there was a better way to go about it. While I'm listing off a lot of negatives, quality-wise, I think it's actually a very nice model and very fun. They had a good idea, but to make it perfect, there definitely would have been some things I changed. However, for what we do get, I do think it's actually alright. Just the worst from the Master Builder series line of sets. It's pretty fun with a very wide selection of minifigures of classic characters in their best bin outfits. Iconic scenes like the carbon freezing chamber and the duel. You get a small Boba Fett Slave 1 and even a cloud car. There's a lot of good things about this set, and it can be very fun. However, I just think it is the weakest of the series. Now for number 5, I'm probably going to get some hate here, but I put the 75290 Mos Eisley Cantina down in 5th. Because honestly, I just don't find it quite as fun as some of the others. It's a very good model, very accurate, and I can't fault it for that at all. Inside and out, every detail is accounted for and wonderfully detailed. I particularly love that it's not just the cantina, you get a little side build, so you get a bit more of Tatooine filled out. It creates a very big landscape for you to play around in, especially when you have so many minifigures to do so. And then the way it opens up like a big dollhouse, even if it is a bigger set that probably isn't going to be used for play, I love that option because it's still there. And it's a great way to display it too, as you open it up and there's a whole world inside. All the little booths on the sides, the main bar, and then a ton of interesting alien minifigures to deck out the entire build with. The bar in particular, I think looks stunning. I could look at that all day. They did a phenomenal job on that build. So here's the big question. If I'm raving about it so much and love it this much, why is it at number 5? And that's because it's just not very fun to display. From the outside, it's really just a heap of tan bricks. Like, it looks pretty good, but no one's going to be able to recognize this just from the exterior. Obviously, if you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll know right away, but otherwise, there's not a lot going on. Like, there's plenty of details, the dewbacks, the little antennas that are super well detailed. It looks great, but for what it is, I'd rather have a ship or something else on display. And that's really where the set fails for me. Or not really fails, I guess, but somewhat has its limits. Especially compared to the others I'm going to put ahead of it. So it kind of hurts to put it this low, but I just had to. At number 4, we have the 75098 Assault on Hoth, a perfect candidate for the Master Builder Series line of sets, one of the most iconic battles in all the franchise. I take that back, the most iconic ground battle. Now, when you talk about this line of sets, this is kind of what I love about it. This set is just a big play set, and it's amazing. I love it for that. However, that's also where some of its faults come in. I'll touch on that more later. For now, though, let's look at all the good stuff it includes. The ion cannon, the Wampa cave, some tauntauns, a ton of turrets and cannons, everything you'd want to defend Echo Base, a snow speeder, the shield generator, and then there's even the Hoth Echo Base interior. As far as playsets go, it's one of the best ever. Of course, it's missing the AT-AT, but those are made just about every other year, so you could easily get your hands on one to pair it with the set. As besides that, it misses absolutely nothing. However, let's talk about the negatives because that somewhat has to do with the quantity of these builds. I just mentioned how they included everything, and it looks great, but it feels a little too disjointed. There's so many different little side builds that detach, it doesn't feel like one set. It feels like a super pack. While not every single piece of the set had to be connected, it definitely needed to be better conjoined than it is now. There's just too many moving pieces that are separated, and it makes the build feel kind of all over the place. I still love it, but this is easily the biggest fault of the set, and you can see that somewhat in the design of the base too. I would have loved to see the shield generator and the ion cannon worked into the base somehow. That way you also could have had the sides built up more and had a more robust look for the base. Something a lot bigger and more solid. As of right now, it's more of just a gate with a few builds behind it. And again, that just feeds into my current complaint. It feels like a bunch of little playsets mashed together in one big super pack, rather than one big cohesive set like it should have been. This definitely would have helped it. However, I don't feel like this set's a total loss on its own. It has plenty of merit, plenty of play value, and plenty of minifigures to fulfill your desire of recreating the Battle of Hoth. This was one of my dream sets as a kid that I just never got, so maybe that's why I'm kind of ranking it higher than most would, but I don't think so. I think Hoth is very iconic and very notable and worthy of this spot. The third set on this list is the 10236 Ewok Village. This is truly a gem of a set, something totally different from normal sets in LEGO Star Wars, and because of that, it's just so much fun. Of course, it's based on Endor, and as such, it has so many nods to that. The Ewok Village is just such a fun concept. The huge treehouse build, I mean, that's just going to be fun no matter how you slice it. There's so many little nooks and crannies in here. The elevated platform is so much fun. There's a lot to clean onto with this build. That rope bridge across, I think, really sells it as well. It gives it a much more free-floating and fun vibe. The other thing about this big treehouse is that there's so many little secrets hidden everywhere. It's a kid's dream. There's so much to do with this playset. Every tree in this set has something to do, whether it's a net, some logs falling, something to reenact the Battle of Endor, or even above in the trees, you have plenty of little Ewok huts to play around in and find little secrets. Combined with a huge character selection, it feels like one of the ultimate Endor sets. If it were paired with a bunker, it'd be perfect. I think the natural whimsy of this set is what makes it so much fun, and one of the more beloved sets in LEGO Star Wars history. It's just so different from anything else we've ever seen, and really ever seen since. It's a very fun build with plenty of play features, but it's also just very fun to look at. Playsets can look good too, and this is a perfect example of that. While it's clearly catered to play, it's a very good display model as well, that'll stand out on your Star Wars shelves. Alright, and after that set, we've reached the top two sets, which are actually kind of one and the same. With that said, you probably know where I'm going with this. The two big LEGO Death Stars, they're basically the same set, so I included them as 1 and 2, but you could basically just put them at the top spot. They're identical, so you can't really rank one over the other. It really just would have been redundant. But if you wanted to get technical, for number 2, I'd put the 10188 Death Star, and then the top spot would be the 75159 Death Star, just because it has the updated minifigures. In reality though, they're basically the exact same. And so I'll talk about them like they are. I mean, I probably don't even have to go in any amount of detail though, because you know this had to be the top set. In my opinion, it's the most perfect LEGO Star Wars set of all time. The Death Star is just too iconic, And the way they filled this set out just can't be topped ever. Every room feels perfect and well done. As well as being something well utilized, there's room to play everywhere on the set. With so many iconic rooms and iconic minifigures, you can have hours of entertainment, as well as having a great display model that basically has so many different little dioramas all around it. Before I go any further, I really have to mention the shape of this build too. It's really just eye-catching. A Lego sphere is just interesting. It's not something you see. So this kind of scale and the build, the way they handle it, it's just all so entertaining, even if you don't plan on playing with it. However, if you are a younger fan out there, you're definitely going to want this set to play around in. I had it as a kid and I would just spend hours messing around with it. I didn't even need any of my other sets. You get so many minifigures to recreate any scene you could want. Up top, you have the conference room, some laser cannons, the Death Star control station, and then even this kind of droid medic bay. I'm not really sure what this one room is. Then down below, you have the big Death Star laser, of course, with some more control panels. The prison room, the Emperor's throne room, which, yes, it wasn't on the first Death Star, but come on, it makes sense to include it. Then across from that is the hangar, which can house a TIE Advanced. Below that, you have the platform that can actually take you down to this kind of just storage area, which is connecting you to some bigger rooms, like the rope swinging area that connects to the tractor beam controls. And big in front there, you have the trash compactor, as well as one more big cannon on the sides. And if you really want to get technical, there is a very small platform on the bottom. There's really nothing there though, because it's not very accessible. The last thing to know is that all of this is connected by one big elevator shaft in the middle. It's not very practical, it's very hard to get to, which it isn't very practical, it's super hard to get to, and only lets off on a few floors, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't really fun. It's such a neat feature, and the fact that it's there is just cool, even if it doesn't get used all that much. It offers a way to get around from floor to floor, and it feels natural, which is another thing about this build. It's super connected. Every room on the set has a way to get to it. Like if you were to carry the minifigure around, you could get to every room some way. Then you compile that with the fact that every room just feels interconnected as they've all appeared on screen, mostly in some way. It's just a tremendous set that puts you right in the Star Wars universe, in the heart of the first movie, and it makes for a play experience no other set can bring. And for that reason, I think that's why it's the best Master Builder series set. But let me know in the comments, do you agree with my list? Is there anything you would change around? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.